I told her, I'm like, if you leave, they're ours. Like, I'm not leaving.
So that was my
That was your
reasoning
question.
behind it, cause there's a bunch of them in there, I just picked those first couple off the top, and then I had one 70-421.
Okay,
What the heck happened to the locks? Did we know who busted them? They should be the ones that are paying for them.
Would that be for the lockers?
This was the, was
It
this,
is.
Where's the boys' locker room and upstairs bathroom locks?
I think the majority of that invoice was for the upstairs bathroom, and I think that was changing the bathroom by the bedroom lock over like we discussed. Because it was a keyed
It was a
only,
key.
and it needed to become a full-use, single-service bathroom.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we needed to completely replace that lock system and put in a,
Well, I guess the word that got me was repairs too, instead of replace. That was my thing.
Did that have anything to do with the damage done with weightlifting?
Not that door.
I don't think the lockers, that was.
That was
From the locker.
been falling off, so they basically just put a lock on it instead of having that push bar. So they put a lock on the locker instead, because that thing was falling apart last year.
okay. All right, any other questions on any of those?
Well, I had one and
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Rachel answered it for me when
Oh.
I came in earlier, because
Thank you, Rachel.
I'm just gonna share with you guys.
Sure.
It's the lunches.
Yep,
There's a 70428, and then there's a 70457. And I was just, it used to be Reinhardt, and I was looking at these, why are we getting food from two different places? But Rachel kind of explained it to me, so
okay.
she did a good job.
Thanks, Rachel, for doing that.
Bookkeeper.
And, thanks for checking into those things, if we have questions, that's the way to go about it. We can get an answer and we can move on. Okay, anybody else have any other concerns with those? Okay, then I need a motion to approve those bills with financial statements. Do I have a motion from anyone? We'll just lump them all together.
I'll make it.
Okay, Matt, is there a second?
I'll second it.
James, okay. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion was carried. All right. We're just moving along here because I need my beauty sleep today. All right. I have to get up and be here early. Okay. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues including on the school board meeting agenda. The board president will establish general operating rules once the number of people wishing to speak is identified on the night of the meeting. Prior to addressing the board, please clearly state your name, your address, and share with the board what item agenda you are speaking to the board on. We ask that you please refrain from identifying specific persons in your comments. Now, this is something that when I went to the meeting about how to run a more efficient meeting, this is something by law we should be stating to those people so they know that this is what's going on. They also are responsible for anything that they say. So I don't think we have anybody, do we have anybody on public comment today?
There's none.
All right, thank you, Mr. Doty. So we can move on. All right. Communication, District Administrator report.
I have quite a few up here, but I'll try to go quickly. The first one is State Education Conference update. We'll have, this will come back in the near future because I'm finding that all the statewide meetings and whatnot are scheduled the third week of the month. Well, we moved to the third Wednesday, and so now there's a conflict there, but Carla and I will be attending, and does anybody else, nobody else kind of came forward and said that they would be able to because of work schedules and stuff, but that's gonna be the third week in January. Carla and I will be down there. Tricia is also going because they have a specific program for administrative assistants too, so that'd be great PD for her. FFA received a donation, and here's the letter that we sent to Lutheran Joint Church parishioners. How do you say that?
Parishioners?
Parishioners.
Yeah, that's a big word for me. And so they donated money specifically to, our FFA group, so we wanted to thank them. We also received an ABATE donation, and this is from the Rosholt motorcycle event, that took place in the summer. I wanna say this was $1,064 and some change. So we sent a letter to, the regional director of ABATE and also to, Nick down at Rosholt, motorcycle, so.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see here. We did receive a thank you from Samantha Simonis. It just says, dear Rosholt School Board, thank you so much for reconsidering me for the scholarship. It is being put to great use at UWSP. I love it here, and I can't wait to get further into my major. Thanks again, sincerely, Samantha Simonis. So, if I understand correctly, she was gonna go to tech school, and so she wasn't considered for the valedictorian, and then she changed her mind, and so then reconsidered and made accommodations, so she wrote a thank you letter. There's a board legal update tomorrow that Carl and I will also be going to, so we have to be in Madison, from between 8 and 8:30. 8 is registration, conference starts at 8:30. It's a free seminar put on by Boardman Clark. Boardman Clark is who, the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators that's their main legal counsel. They're not our specific schools, but it's a free event, and so anytime we can get a different perspective on legal advice, and if it's free and it's just a drive down and back, that's probably a good thing, just to understand more from that legal realm. We do have the DPI district work hours were released publicly yesterday, and I just wanted to call these up quickly because all schools in the Rosholt district meet or exceed the standards set forth by the state, so that's good. If you don't meet, then people look at you and say, oh, you're not doing a good job, and you need to be on a plan of improvement, and we have to come up with different ways on how we're going to adjust that, so.
I just had someone email saying that they can't see anything, but, I mean, actually,
Maybe Bird tried on YouTube.
Yeah, are they on the YouTube now?
they're on, yeah, she said she's on the YouTube, and I just logged into the YouTube and I don't see it on there.
Where's your Dan?
Did Dan leave?
Dan.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's okay, well, we wanna make sure people.
We want it to work.
Yeah, we wanna make sure that people know what it is.
So again, this is the entire district, and I'm not gonna get into specifics, but I just wanted to show that overall score is 69.5, and obviously, the fuller the circle, the better that we're doing. But that's the district view at 69.5. We also have the elementary. And I do know that our special ed was in need of improvement, and so we're closing the gap a little bit there. But this elementary, 69.3, meets expectations. Middle school, and again, when you consider middle school, there's a finite number of students in our middle school. But there, 62.9, again, meets expectations. And our high school comes up, and they're 76.1, and they exceed expectations. And frankly, that's a bit of role reversal. And the reason I say that is the districts I've worked for, the elementaries seem to be far above exceeding or significantly exceeding. And then for whatever reason, it's the high school that seems to always kind of drag the district down. Here, it's the opposite, where the high school is actually picking the district up. So that's interested me, and a data dive we'll get into eventually, why that is, and see if we can't continue to improve. But
Do you know what the state average is for
so
different areas?
if you look here, break it down just a little bit, we're the dark blue line, and the state average is the light blue line, so I don't know what it is overall, what the overall score is from a district perspective. So like the 69.3, I don't know how that relates or ranks. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, because unfortunately, this is used to rank and order school districts, when really it's supposed to be meant to say, hey, this is where your kids aren't performing, let's focus on that and get them up to speed. So, but when you do dial down, you do see these other areas, and you can say, okay, in mathematics, we're a little bit below, and in achievement, and in ELA, we're a little bit above. We go over here to the growth. We really showed significant growth in both areas, comparison to the state average. On track readiness to graduation, we're above state average. So I mean, And you can do that for each of the ones.
Okay.
Each of the schools. Regional meeting recap, I don't know if the board enjoyed that. I enjoyed going to our regional meeting. Everybody just couldn't make it, that's fine. No need to feel obligated to go, but it was kind of a nice informal way to sit and talk about things, and heard what other school boards are doing and some of what they're doing. We also had a presentation from WSB lawyers and their executive director, John Ashley. So it was interesting. We went through an election process, which kind of surprised us, because
Yeah.
Very much so.
it kind of turned left on us. We're like, oh, okay, well, that's different. We didn't expect that. But anyway, those opportunities come back again and come around, and I would encourage the board to continue to participate. And I guess I'd open up, is there any comments or commentary from the board about that night and things that you'd like to see different or whatever? Because then I can always, reach out to John Ashley and DSU and say, hey, this would be great if.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was nice to go see everyone there, so.
Maybe free alcohol.
Open bar.
No, there was a bar, you just.
I know, but
I didn't realize where it was until it was too late, so.
But I do have to apologize because as we left, a gentleman from the Neilsville School District, the guy that graduated a couple years behind me, came up and started talking to me, Paul, and I'm like, hey, Paul, how's it going? And then you all left. I didn't have a chance to really say goodbye to anybody, and so
no.
apologize for that. Distracted by other friends from the past. But is when we know those opportunities come up, I'll definitely make everybody aware of those and maybe attend again in the future, so. Yeah. Election update / recap. So the update, and this deals with the school board election, so those individuals that are heading into election, re-election, whatever it might be, we did have the guide for candidates that we handed out, and so you should have that in front of you. But here's a couple of the important dates. So Friday, December 2nd is the deadline for current school board members with tax years starting on January 1 to submit a notice of voluntary refusal of their board salary. I've never ever known a school board member to refuse their salary, but it's an option, but you have to file paperwork. December 23rd is the deadline for incumbent school board members to notify a declaration of non-candidacy. So if you know for a fact that I'm done with this, in the spring, I don't want to do this anymore, then you have to let us know that you're not going to run again, and that has to be in by the December 23rd. And then Tuesday, January 3rd is the deadline for potential candidates, and that's everybody, to file a declaration of candidacy. And now if it comes in before that, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be on that date. But on January 3rd is the date to have your registration statement done in order to be on the spring election ballot. Because if you miss that date, you can still be on the ballot, but then you're like a preferred write-in candidate, and you have to register even to be a write-in. That happened to us down south, and nobody made this deadline, and so the school district went out and recruited different people, and we had 2 sign up to be write-in candidates. And the reason you have to do that, so people could write Bugs Bunny down, but then that's an unrecognized vote, basically. It's an unrecognized write-in candidate, and only the people that have officially registered as a write-in will be considered on the official tally, is why that has to happen. Election recap. So regardless if you're red, blue, left, right, from specifically a school standpoint, the fact that there's still divided government with the governor's race in Wisconsin is good for education. And the reason I say that is that if there's full control in either side, school legislation comes fast and furious. So when there's divided government, there's a bit of gamesmanship, if you will, in the houses and the senates and the governor's office, and that means that things slow down a little bit. Things will come, at us at a fire hose approach. So, again, just from a school perspective, regardless of political affiliation or views or whatever else, from a school standpoint, it slows things down, which is usually a good thing. So, number of races, I was kind of surprised as I was reviewing the races. Portage County actually came in quite blue, which I was shocked by.
It always does,
It usually does.
mainly because of the college.
Isn't it? Okay. I wasn't anticipating that. Again, first year in the district, first year that I really paid attention to election results. So, but anyway, that's kind of my comment on the election. Update on school vehicle purchase. We are looking into that because later on we'll get into our job expense reimbursement policy, and part of it is that we do maintain a fleet here. And as we talk reimbursement rates for mileage and those types of things with people using their own vehicle, why do we have a school fleet if nobody's using them? Well, they're not using them because we don't have vehicles that potentially can make it great distances and back. Most pointedly, our little Malibu car with about 200,000 miles on it. So I've reached out. Many places do not engage with municipal purchases anymore. So the places in Stevens Point that I called steered me to Osseo, and Osseo has a program that they work through, and this is if you're getting new, that they can work through with the municipal market, if you will. They did say they had a couple of used vehicles that would probably fit our need, as far as like another minivan or something where you can haul multiple people and have multiple uses for it. But expect that to be on a future agenda item as a potential purchase, because then what we're trying to do is say, you know, staff, if you have a conference down in Portage, take the school vehicle. Now, obviously, if you live in Plainfield and you drive here to work, you're not gonna come all the way here to grab a car and go there. Understandable, right? So then the second thing that we asked them to do is fill up in the morning, fill up at night, and we'll pay the actual gas mileage. And then we'll talk about the IRS rate coming up in the near future when we get to that policy. Lastly, this has been put before the board before. This is our bloodborne pathogens exposure control plan. This is just last updated in 2017. So we had a small group that met to go over and kind of update this plan. Because we're kind of going through that process of making administrative guidelines, that's why this is listed as AG 8453.01, because policy 8453.01 is the bloodborne pathogen policy in our policy. So I present this and ask if there's any questions that you may have on this, because the AG's administrative guidelines aren't necessarily approved by the board. The policy is, and then the administration makes the administrative guidelines. So again, you have the blanket policy, and then you have kind of the process of how we're gonna carry out that plan. And so, that's what this plan is. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review it, but this is really, talking with school nurse, administration, director of building and grounds, where do we put contaminated things? If we had a blood exposure, how do we clean it up? Who do we call? Where does that go? How does it get reported? Those types of things is what's contained in this plan, so. Open to any questions? Otherwise, that'll conclude my report.
Okay, well, thank you, Dennis. All right. Jerry, elementary.
First off, I have a field trip request. Our 4th grade teachers would like to take the 4th graders to Heritage Hill in order to get that Wisconsin, history of Wisconsin learning requirement. Because it's more than 50 miles away, we need to ask for permission. They are looking at May 16th.
Absolutely, it's a fun trip. I love the learning there, you know. They just have the courtroom and all that, so.
I've never been there.
Oh, it's a great learning about Wisconsin.
So you're making a motion?
I will definitely make, if I can come, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank
It's a
you.
great place.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the field trip for Heritage Hill on May 16th?
Are they gonna take the 5th graders that didn't get to go last year?
They are not.
Nah.
But, I mean,
Did you
honestly,
cover?
I could potentially pitch that to 5th grade as well. Because I know 5th grade, the field trips that 5th grade go on are the safety patrol field trips. And those usually come up a little later once Portage County
Yeah.
Sheriff decide that they're again going to the Dells, then they have to come back. It's always like a big surprise. They always choose the Dells, but yeah, they didn't end up doing Mullins or anything last year because of Mullins not doing the cheese tours.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I gave a bunch of just updates. We had our grandparent breakfast. We had over 200 grandparents. PTO hosted family movie night. We had about 25 families that attend. PTO buys the movie, does popcorn and water, and then one of the families wins the movie as well, so you know everything gets given back. The fire department came out on October 11th for Fire Safety Week. We had asked the fire department for some certain very delineated things that we wanted covered, and they really rose to the occasion and presented a fabulous fire safety, fire prevention program this year, so we were excited by that. And actually, next year they asked if we could do it in the small gymnasium, because they would like to get the kids stop, dropping, and rolling too, and practicing crawling as if there was smoke at an elevated level and that kind of thing. So November 2nd and 3rd, we had the PTO hosted the parents breakfast. This is the first year we've had more parents than grandparents,
Ooh, very good.
only by 4, but
Hey, four.
4.
Is better than that.
Tomorrow, Portage County Health Department is coming to do a flu shot clinic for students only. I did share the information out with St. Adalbert's and Sacred Heart. I didn't get any indication that anybody was coming from there, but it was open to anybody that lives in the Rosholt community, 6 months through 18 years of age. Had to be a student though, could not be an 18-year-old adult. So if they were still a student, then they could qualify. So I think we've got about 30 kids getting a shot tomorrow. PTO did a quick trip car wash fundraiser that concluded last week. They sold a little shy of 400 cards at $16 a card. They really had a very audacious goal of 1,700. If we sold 1,700, we would have made $28,000. They were gonna take the whole school to the movies. The reason they had such an audacious goal is because the goal is to buy a new piece of playground equipment, and that's well over $100,000. So, at $5,000 a fundraiser, it's gonna take a few years
Yep.
to make that $100,000. So they wanted to see if they put a big goal out there, would we be able to do it? Unfortunately, we didn't, but we are thankful for the families that did participate. We do have our hearing and vision screening. We used to go through Portage County. Through our Marathon County Consortium, we are able to get Marathon County in here. The difference really is Marathon County does 4K, 5K, 1, 2, 3, 5, not 4th grade. And then anybody we would have concerns about. Portage County did 4K, 5K, 2, 4, 6. It was kind of a horse apiece. We got a few more students this way. So we are having hearing and vision screenings coming up on November 30th and December 1st. Our student council is gonna be hosting Penny Wars. The kids voted and they would like the proceeds to go to the Humane Society. They've got their annual food drive coming up in mid-December, and of course, Santa's Workshop will be going on again, hosted by student council. So that's kind of events between now or beginning of the year and now. Any questions on events?
I have one.
Yeah.
Thinking back at the financial statements, was that fire department visit that cost the school $500, was that a popcorn fire?
Yes.
Who was doing the popcorn?
Was that concessions, I believe?
Yeah.
I think that was,
concessions that day, but
Was it concessions or was it our microwave? I don't remember.
It was just a microwave, I think, and it was just a student after.
I think it was an after-hour student event. And cooking microwave popcorn and smoke grill it out, because they set it for 4 minutes, walked away, and didn't pay attention. And that was a $500 fire call, because we couldn't.
Well, when you said the fire department came, I'm like, oh, yeah, that would have.
just run on the shelf, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was,
That was the whole reason we updated the fire system here partially, because they were getting calls, and every time they come here, $500.
Change.
You paid for that, then I take it?
I don't know, that's his role.
That's why I was looking at him.
Wasn't the student.
Oh,
Well,
All
it
right,
was a
thank you.
student, but no, that student did not pay.
oh, okay. All right. I didn't think so, because I wouldn't have it as a student. Okay.
And then my third thing is, I just wanted to recognize a donation. Erin Pliska, actually approached the elementary PTO for up to $500 to use toward her passion project for her master's degree. So you guys have met our 5 students that are working on their or teachers that are working on their master's degrees. They each have to do 2 passion projects, things that they're excited about that would give back to our school district. Erin's passion project is kind of twofold. One is recognizing students and staff for exemplary things. And then the other is really helping develop RAD and the Friday focus of getting to know students, exploring further, deeper, outside of the typical content area. So she asked the elementary PTO granted it, even though it wasn't an elementary project they wanted to donate. So they have awarded her up to $500 for her to purchase things to acknowledge the exemplary behavior, as well as one of the things they're gonna do in January, apparently during their Fridays, is share a passion with students. So if I'm passionate about Zumba, maybe I'm gonna do a Zumba thing, and kids who are interested in Zumba would come and do that Zumba thing with me, or
I'm gonna teach kids if they want sheephead.
Sheephead? Oh.
so.
Diamond
Mark
Trump?
was doing cribbage, so if we don't have enough kids, we're gonna combine.
What's
So-
Trump?
What's Trump?
Oh, Jack Diamonds. Diamonds.
Well,
always.
Diamond Trump, okay.
So
What depends on where you live.
I'm not
some
gonna
of that
And I'll be
money
teaching
would be
drill and
used to
ceremony,
buy
army
things
style.
for that event
What,
as well.
drill instructor?
Yeah, basically drill and ceremony. So, right face, left face.
Really?
Left, out of left, out of left. We'll be all marching.
up,
Cool.
on up. Just kidding.
That's not, that's
So
not.
I think there's
I don't know, but I-
10 to 15 teachers signed up.
Yes.
That sounds
So
good.
then part of that
Clean
money
version.
would be able to purchase additional sets of cards so that they can do this, or, you know, fly fishing stuff, so if someone's teaching how to do fly, you know, tie the fly, you know, things like that,
Knitting, crocheting.
That's
whatever, yep.
but I-
So that's, I just wanted to acknowge that.
I learned
You
that
no
in
longer
high
have to
school, and I still know.
do anything, but I wanted it to, you know, come to you guys
Yeah.
because it is
Well, thank you.
a substantial donation.
Okay, well, thank you for that information. Okay, Mr. Doby.
Hello.
Hello, how are
Um,
you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
That's good. I
So-
know you need to get home because it's.
Oh, it's fine. The first thing I have is
Right now.
student recognition for our fall sports. I'll start with cross country. So we have our boys all-conference cross country. We had 2 first teamers, Jacob Ross and Daniel Simonis. We had 1 honorable mention, that was Abe Steins. And we had 1 state qualifier for boys, that was Jacob Ross, and he placed 30th overall in Division III. His goal was 25 or higher, and he almost got there, but he did a really nice job for the team, and I congratulate all the boys for their running. Yes?
How many kids were at the state meet?
Oh, you're hit me there with a question.
Yeah.
140?
of ours?
140?
Okay.
Cause ours was just 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at the total.
I think it's like around 140 runners.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Then we moved to girls cross country. We had 1 first team, that was Sophia Bablich, and we had an honorable mention, Isabel Trevatuski. Sophia placed 7th place overall in Division III. Her goal was top 10, and she reached that. You know, she still has another year left, so we'll see if we get a winner next year. That'd be great. Football, all conference. We had a bunch of players recognized here. We had on second team offense, we had TJ Wiersba, Mason Wiersba, Jackson Peterson, and Tyler Hintz. Our second team defense, Brandon Jankuski and Charlie Walder. Honorable mention offense was Alex Wiersba. Honorable mention defense was Ethan Stroud, Caleb Zick, and Trent Bembenek. So congratulations to the guys on the football team. Then we go to girls volleyball. We had 1 first team all conference, that was Sarah Trzynski. We had a second team, 2 second teamers, Addison Gagas and Lily Lerbeski, and 2 honorable mention, Lexi Lemanchik and Natalie Brink. So again, congratulate the girls, and they were also co-conference champions. So, we had a very nice fall season for all of our athletes. good numbers for the most part, so we're looking to keep improving this.
All right, anybody have any questions or? Okay, well then we'll move on to old business.
Oh, no, I got a couple
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
So the next one is girls' basketball. Coach Pedersen wanted to make sure the board is updated on everything that's gonna happen for this year. So he wrote this, and I hope you had a chance to read it. I'm not gonna read it all through. He's telling what, things he's gonna do with the team to build, make them a closer team. He lists all the dates for games. He thanks the board in there for, all of their help and everything they do for Rosholt athletics. So I think it's a really nice idea to bring that to the board, because you need to be in the know as well. So that was from Coach Pedersen. Any questions on that one? Okay, and the last one, yes, that's turned. If you would, if you download it, you can then rotate it, but you can't otherwise. All it is, and I can just read it for you. It is our parent-teacher conference attendance, so we kind of always look at last year's and this year's and see, kind of compare the numbers. So Ms. Vicky put this together for me. This year, our overall, and I'm gonna focus there, our attendance was 44% of our parents came to the parent-teacher conferences, compared to 30% last year. 14%, I'll take that. We'll keep adding 14% every year. We wanna get like elementary where it's 98%. But no, I'm happy with the results. It was a steady stream of parents, not overly rushed through there, but, it's nice to see that the numbers are increasing. We did move it back to the commons this year instead of classrooms. It was really dead heat vote for teachers. It was half and half. It was exactly half and half. But I had Mr. Tom Richter be the deciding vote because he's shorthanded right now. So he said commons is easier. They can get the classrooms done later. So we went to the commons.
Okay.
So that's what I have for you.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Dovey? Okay, let's move on then to old business. Consider the second reading of policy boards. Consider second reading of job-related expenses.
So again, this is, I think this is the third time it's been brought to the board's attention. Basically, we have this announcement here or update here that says, payment reimbursement rates for overnight per diem and meals, and lodging shall follow the standard U.S. General Service Administration, GSA rate. The board shall establish mileage rates not to exceed or not exceeding the Federal Internal Revenue Service prescribed mileage rate, and the board shall review reimbursement rates on an annual basis. So this then brought up the question, oh, by the way, unauthorized expenses include alcohol, movies, and we added tips and tax in there because we're tax exempt, and tips is discretionary. So that would be the update to the policy. There was a question last month about the reimbursement rates, and so we did devise an AG 3440 and 4440, and basically this administrative guideline would talk about we're tax exempt. We start out by explaining tax exempt, and that to the question that was asked earlier, we're a tax exempt organization, so different places like a Menards or a Walmart has their own tax exempt policy. You have to get the card, it's based on school, you have to check that out, go make your purchase and come back, turn that in with the receipt, those types of things. Conference expenses are also for overnight travel only, because if you're going down just for a one-day workshop, then just like you come to work, you bring your own lunch and that type of thing. However, the mileage would be reimbursed if the school vehicle's not used. When we get into transportation expenses, we do have a transportation policy called 8600, which talks about the fleet and the use of school district vehicles. We do own a fleet of vehicles, and the purpose of that is so we try to save some of this money that we're spending on mileage, and we'd ask that our employees would utilize their school vehicles when possible. Understanding that if you drive a small car and the only school vehicle we have is a big 10-person van, that's gonna be like a small bus, people might be uncomfortable. There'd still be the option to utilize the personal vehicle. Again, as I kind of alluded to earlier, the process would be check to see if there's a school vehicle, use school vehicle, that would be the first priority. Second priority would be then to say if you're going to leave from here or from your home, fill up in the morning, fill up in the afternoon, we'll reimburse the actual expense. And then if that is not possible, and a good example of that, last week I had a meeting up in in Wausau for Marathon County Special Ed. And so that meeting was at 9 o'clock, so I drove up at 7:30. I had to run an errand because my white vehicle was in the shop getting repaired from the second year damage of the year. And I went over there and buzzed up and checked in with them, paid my deductible, and it was supposed to be done that day, so I said, okay, then I'll go up and do that. Well, that's not mileage I should be reimbursed for, right? So, if I filled up at the beginning and then filled up at the end, it would be misrepresentation as well, because I may put on, maybe 50 more miles going way north up by Philly Farm where the fixed place was. So that would be an example where then to reimburse the mileage from point A to point B would be appropriate. So again, first, use a school vehicle, second, use actual reimbursement mileage, and then third would be to pay mileage. But if we consider the IRS rate, the reason that we have an IRS rate is technically to reimburse those individuals that are using their vehicle as part of their job. So if I was a CISA employee and I live in, I don't know, let's say I live in Gillette. So I live in Gillette, CISA 8, live in Gillette. And I'm a consultant that goes to different schools and helps with mental health. I'm driving to different school districts every single day, and my car is a vehicle of my job. And that's where you would incur on a regular annual basis. You're gonna have more tire wear, you're gonna have more oil usage and oil changes. You're going to have, windshield wiper, replacement more often because you're on the road as part of your job. When it comes to our reimbursement, we're really talking, we checked the school vehicle. The only school vehicle is a big school vehicle. I'm not comfortable driving a school vehicle. Okay, I already have the full tank, so I can't get a full, a good receipt, so it's only at the end, but then there's no verification that it was filled up in the morning. Okay, reimburse mileage rate. Well, right now, if we reimburse at the full IRS rate for somebody to go down to Portage and back, let's just call that 100 miles, the reimbursement rate is $62.50. So, 62 and a half cents, which at 100 miles would be reimbursement for $62.50. Even if I'm driving what I consider to be an average car, maybe I'm off base with this, but if I'm in an average car that's getting 20 miles to the gallon, I can make that trip down and back in 5 gallons of gas. Even if I raised and elevated the gas price to $4 a gallon, 5 gallons, we're talking reimbursement of $20. Where does the other $42.50 go? That seems to be a bit excessive, because again, we're not asking people to drive to multiple places every single day as part of their work. It might be a couple times a year to go to a consortium meeting or to go to a workshop, wherever that might be held. People do attend conferences. We do have school vehicles available sometimes, and sometimes they're being used. Like, I know, usually, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Fridays that usually the handicap van is scheduled for. So if your conference goes to Friday, that's out. Okay, now we have one minivan, but that other minivan's used, and then we're left with the car. And the car is really not necessarily the most reliable, so that's why we're investigating the update of that vehicle. So when we consider that $20 would be about a third of the governmental rate, and so that's why we have here, if the vehicle is not convenient or appropriate, an employee requests a reimbursement for mileage, reimbursed at 1/3 government rate. I did give this to Tammy to talk with our staff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the consensus was that seemed a little bit low, because
I thought it was cheap.
yeah. And again, as compared to what, I don't know. It's right now at the government rate, paying $62.50 for a 100-mile trip seems to be a bit of a moneymaker. It's not really the intent of it. And our policy right now does say that we would reimburse up to the federal rate. Doesn't mean we have to reimburse at the IRS rate. So I guess the question would be, with this administrative guideline, what is the board considering appropriate reimbursement for mileage on the vehicle? Because at the 1/3, it would be $21, which I think I calculated actual expense would be $18.70 or something. So that's not much extra, but what is that extra going for, I guess is the question I have. So I'm open for questions at this time.
I guess one of my questions is, has there been like a cost analysis to see what we pay out per year in mileage versus what a new vehicle is gonna cost us with insurance and gas and that thing and everything else? I mean, has that ever been just kicked around?
I don't know that we've gone to that depth. I know that we do our annual audit with our insurance plan. They go through our current vehicles
Uh-huh.
and do that process, but to break down how much we reimburse by down to the mile versus what we're using our vehicles for, no.
You know, I guess, I know if there would be, out there, how much should we pay out in mileage in a year for everything? You know, if there wasn't a vehicle to use, or, you know, I guess that would just be my thought, is like, is this new vehicle worth it versus paying out mileage, or is it a break even, so sort of thing? You know, vehicles are expensive now.
Or, I mean, even if we had a new vehicle here, how many people would still feel comfy driving it? You know, I mean, to me, I drive my truck every, I don't know, a small car and you're not used to it, or if you jump in a big van and you're not used to it. You buy a vehicle, will your people still use their own vehicles, and we're gonna reimburse them and still have just a vehicle sit here and we wasted $25,000-$30,000 vehicles sitting here. I agree, I think 1/3 is low. If you're asking my opinion on the rate, coming from a person that does it and drives miles and uses it, and to me, 1/3, yeah, the gas would be covered by the 1/3, but wear and tear, you know, yes, it's 100 miles, it's not a huge wear and tear on the thing, but I think it should be a little more than that, is my opinion.
What did the teacher say? That you said they said low, but they give you a price?
No, they said it was low. Cheap was the word.
Ah. Alright, what's the start?
And
Whoever said they're cheap is in a Malibu.
And when we do come to the vehicle purchase, if you want us on that, if we've done that. So we can actually say, okay, what do we pay out per year in mileage for our employees, and does it make sense? Because we have vans, we have a car, and the car is great for summer.
Right. I think
It's perfect. But to run to Ford is probably it's probably not the best. But if it's going to be $30,000 and they're only spending $8,000, now you're talking, you have a 4.5 to 6 year buyback. Does
Right.
that make sense? Because 6 years you're probably going to have a place that can put that many miles on.
And your insurance is covered no matter what, you know, consider insurance because it's on. It's
We
basically,
can also get the car. I don't know that affects what we consider to be appropriate for reimbursement of mileage, because it's just reimbursement expenses more, doesn't make sense to purchase a new vehicle or continue to pay mileage.
Well, what if we postpone this and give Rachel a little bit, so she can check?
What do we,
Well, it's a change, but, you know,
how much did we pay, say last year, in mileage reimbursement?
that's really separate, like, we're just.
Well, no, because what did we pay last year for mileage reimbursement? Did we pay an IRS rate, or did we pay a third? We didn't pay an IRS rate.
That's why we're choosing. I guess. No, I mean, it could be low. I mean, if they think we're cheap, I mean,
What about 40?
My personal opinion is 50 cents. That gives you more than enough leeway if fuel go up. They're still,
Going to,
We're
they're
still-
not going down, the election is over, no, no, listen.
you know, but that gives a little leeway, you know, that some of the tear on it, and it's still saving us money from last year where, you know, we were paying 60 cents a mile or whatever it was last year on it.
Just to throw this out here, a bit of a devil's advocate, what does a synthetic oil change cost nowadays if you go to a shop?
About $75.
Okay, $75 over 5,000 miles is, I'm just,
Yeah, yep.
and you take that and add it and put it in a 100-mile trip. So how many dollars are going to be spent on a 100-mile trip towards that $75 oil change?
Mhm.
Argue 7, 8 maybe? So if you take approval of this policy, 3440,
Yeah.
as presented,
okay.
we'd be looking then for approval of 4440, which is the exact same policy just for support staff.
Oh, okay, I got it, that's right, okay.
And then we will table, and 8600 is just for your reference, that was
Okay.
out there, just that's transportation
And then
policy.
the AGG, we're gonna.
And the
table
administrative guidelines we'll revisit next
Revisit.
month, and we'll pull last year's data to take a look at how much we're actually spending on mileage. It's become notable this year since it went, I mean, it's hovered for the last several years, you know, upper 40s and then below 50s, then all of a sudden, boom, it jumps to 62.5, like, holy
So-
cow.
So do we need separate motions for both policies, or? can we
Yes.
just-
Yeah.
We can't put them together,
Yeah.
just say 344 and 444? Okay,
No,
I'll make a
Okay.
motion,
okay,
I'll second that one.
for which one?
3440.
Okay, all those in favor of the proposed changes for 3440 as presented?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. That one is carried. Now I need a motion for proposal changes to 4440.
motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Policy, oh wait, and then I need a motion to revisit and revisit
You don't.
AG. No,
You know, there's no action, there's no
Okay,
approval,
alright.
it's up for
Sorry.
consideration. And normally we wouldn't have an administrative guidelines be a board approved, it would be just administrative guideline, but I do want the board
Okay.
to
So-
say, to set that
Okay,
precedent.
so we'll bring AG,
We're bringing it back.
we'll bring it back next month with more information, so we can make a decision. Okay. All right, consider second reading of policy updates overview.
So this very first link here, and I actually asked Tricia to print this out for you. So what you have in front of you should have a two-page document that's stapled, and basically at the very bottom of the first page, it says policy 0100 definitions revised. And then if you flip the page, it's gonna say, okay, this is why 0100 is there. Further clarification is added to the definition of administrator by indicating they're employed with administrator contract. In addition, further explanation for the definition of school official is provided by including the previous drafting note information. These revisions are recommended but are not required from the Neola. There are some that if you wanna be compliant with current law, it says these are required. But I wanted to provide this with you because I do want to, and these we can, unless there's an issue with any of the adjustments, because these are Neola recommendations, we can wait to the end and say we approve all the policies as presented. But I do want to open them up individually so we can work through them and just show you the adjustments, and then you have the definition or the reasoning from Neola as to why this policy is on this most recent update. And just to refresh your memory, Board Docs is kind of our interface that people can go to our website to view our board policies. The parent company is Neola. Their lawyers review things on a periodic basis, and normally they send out 2 updates per year. And those updates are bringing us into compliance with legalese, and you'll see that there has been, you know, changes from he, her to their, and some of those neutral pronouns and those things being updated. There's just updates, and those come out twice a year. And so then we present them to the board, we do the first read, we do the second read, and then we can approve them as presented. And we can also then approve as presented, except for the change to 0296, and then state what the change would be. So, 0100 talks about what an administrator is considered as leadership over a defined function of the department of the district, is employed with administrative contract and/or who reports directly to the district administrator. And then there was additional information added to the school official. The term school official is inclusive to other parties such as attorneys, contractors, consultants, volunteers, or other parties whom the board has outsourced a service otherwise performed by board employees, i.e., therapists and whatnot. So any questions on 0100? All right. And again, I just am going to run through these and call them up here so we can take a look at them. This one basically just says the board president shall appoint a parliamentarian who shall decide any challenges to the parliamentary procedure. Does not need to be a board member. Just authorizes the board president to do so. In this one, you'll notice on next explanation sheet, it says policy 1213, 3213, and 4213, student supervision and welfare. And that's because the 1,000 administration, 3,000 professional, 4,000 support staff. So it's the same policy stated 3 times for the different classification of employee. So that's why we'll see, right now we're talking 1213, eventually we'll see 3213, but we'll just skip over that because it's the same exact changes in that policy. If you take a look here, the policies are revised to account for staff posting photos of students who are their own children and relatives on social media accounts as an exception to the general prohibition of posting photos. What the policy says is that if you're an administrator or school employee, you're not supposed to be taking pictures of a whole classroom and posting it on your personal Facebook. Posting it to the district Facebook is fine. However, if I'm Mary, and Mary goes in the classroom and takes a picture of Genevieve and says, I'm gonna get a picture of her doing pumpkin carving or whatever that might be doing, and put it up on my refrigerator or post it to my own personal social media, that's allowable. But what you shouldn't do is have Genevieve and like 3 of her friends, and then post it to your personal one. And that's basically what this policy is saying. It's giving the school personnel the, I wouldn't say authority, but giving them the authority to take pictures of their own children while in school. And that would be 1213, 3213, and 4213. Again, we go to 1421, 3121, 4121. Policies are provided to add clarification to the reference of minor traffic offenses. So basically, this is where employees need to self-report. If we have an employee that has a DUI, they need to let us know about that. If they receive a speeding ticket for going 36 and a 35, we don't need to know about that. It's really defining those moving violations or those significant things. I mean, if they get arrested for assault and battery, we need to know that. That would be a reportable offense. And this just tries to clarify what those are. So that's the change to those policies. Next one is 226002. Been revised to reflect state statutes and administrative code and updated terminology as well as recommendations from professionals within the field. So again, this is eliminating some language and then says district students who are identified as English learners. Again, taking out like their native language or complete with the mainstream English language speakers and making that a little bit more in tune with the times as far as verbiage. Any questions on 226002? All right. Human growth and development. You may or may not have heard a little bit about this. Some people are working through the human growth and development. This one, prior to modification of this policy, would have prompted questions to the rationale behind this. They added when age appropriate, the following shall also be incorporated in gov subjects when appropriate. And I'm gonna ask,
We weren't listening, sorry.
when it comes to human growth and development, do we have, if I remember right, we had a conversation that parents have the opt-out, don't they? They can opt out of the growth and development as far as, and then we had something else for students to do. So that is something that's available for families to do in the human growth and development area. Questions, comments, concerns about 2414? Okay. 2416, this is a, 2416, this is,
It says it's a new policy.
this is a new policy, and I'm trying to remember what our conversation was about this policy. This is parental access to information. Normally there would be a policy on that because the parents would have parental access regardless if it's a homogeneous home or a split household until the age of 18. And if the student then reaches the age of majority and would like to eliminate their parents from receiving that information, the student can do that. I'm just looking here, the privacy of students, the time given to go to. And this is talking about an assigned area. So for the privacy of students whose parents request that they not take part in a survey, arrangements will be made prior to a time period where the survey will be given for students to go to a supervised area. Basically, there are things, and this is like the opt-out for students. So we administer a YRBS, the Youth Behavior Risk Survey. If parents want to opt their students out of that, we're not gonna leave them in that same room. We'll have them go to a supervised location where they don't have to participate. And that is similar to the human growth and development. Questions on 2416? (2460-03), this is regarding a student and a parent's right to an independent education evaluation. So where I've seen this most is where, hypothetically speaking, the school holds a special ed determination meeting, and we determine that the student is not special ed, and the parent claims that, I have a medical diagnosis, and they have the right to have an independent group look at that student and evaluate that student. And this policy reflects, talks about that independent consultation. This is a major change, says unique circumstances justify the IE that exists, the maximum allowable cost. The district must ensure that the IE is publicly funded. The district will receive these circumstances on a case-by-case basis. If the total cost for the IE exceeds the district cost criteria and is determined through the appropriate procedures that there is no justification for excess cost, the cost of the IE will be publicly funded up to the district's maximum allowable cost. Note, if the district determines the cost exceeds the cost criteria, then the district must, without unnecessary delay, initiate due process hearings to demonstrate the evaluation obtained by the parent that they did not meet the appropriate agency criteria. It does talk about cost in here because that would be something that we say, okay, you don't like what we say, we'll pay X amount to go get a private, independent evaluation. If they go over that, we can say, no, we're not gonna pay that, because it's, we'd say we're gonna pay up to $200 for an independent evaluation, because I go, it's gonna be $400. Tough, we're not paying that. So, but they do have the right to an IE. Questions of 2460-03?
Do we have somebody on staff that would be doing that evaluation?
We have school
Is it-
psychologists and special, Marathon County special ed, yeah. So we've qualified people that have worked through that process, but parents might say, well, I don't believe them because if it doesn't go in their favor, then they could get crabby. And they might say, I want an independent evaluation, which they have the right to do. All right, this is the report card. This is just adjusted to meet current statutes. So a copy of each school's accountability report card will be prepared and shall be provided by the district to the parents of each student enrolled and attending. Report shall be provided with the notification of educational options. So those just came out. This is an update to keep us compliant. 3121 goes back to the previous, the 1121 and 4121. 3213 is student supervision and welfare. That one's also going back to that previous policy. We have 3425, which is benefits. This is COBRA, right? So upon separation, employees do have the right to COBRA. And it explains that covered employees shall be provided continuation rights and extent required under the applicable provisions of the COBRA Act. So that's all we're doing there. Moving on, we have supervision and welfare, we have benefits. We come back to now 5113, open enrollment. This policy has been reorganized to make it easier for districts to use when evaluating open enrollment applications and to include clarification regarding preferential processing of applications for siblings of any student that's selected at random selection process. We have not run into that I'm aware of, is being on overload to have a random selection for open enrollment. Again, in January, the board will come together and make a determination on special education open enrollment limits or limitations. Those numbers should be in during December to review, and then we'll make a decision in January to set any open enrollment caps that might be there. If you take a look at the change, full-time open enrollment, annual space determination, it talks about it during the January meeting, the board's gonna establish that. Almost done. 53, what do we got, 5335? This is a non-active policy that Neola is asking us to consider. We currently, again, it's not active, but the care of students with chronic health conditions. Students with chronic health conditions will be provided a free and appropriate public education if their impairment does not require specifically designated instruction for them to benefit educationally. They will be eligible for accommodation modifications and interventions of the regular classroom curriculum or activity, with every effort made to provide them with the same access to education as students without disability. Such accommodations, modifications, interventions will be provided pursuant to section 504. We do have the option to, chronic health conditions for this purpose of the policy should include, but not be limited to, and we can select all these if we want to. We cannot select any of those. We could say we don't want this policy, but this is up for consideration because it's not active, and sometimes if we don't have a policy of care of students with chronic health conditions, and all of a sudden we get a complaint about a student that has a chronic health condition, and we have really no policy to go back to, then it's based on, what did the administration decide to do? And that may or may not be supported by the board because there's a lack of a policy. So I would recommend that we approve this. And my question would be, do we want to include, and anytime you see in these policies, this little A, we could check just peanut and other food allergies. We could say allergies, asthma. There's also choice. We could say, anybody that has a chronic health condition, and then not include any of those, and then it's left up to the determination of our school nurse, what is considered chronic. So I guess I'm looking for guidance there.
Or NP, any thoughts?
No, but I want you to go down a little bit further, and I wanted to read the next page.
Too far?
Go, yeah, too far, can I just read this real quick?
This one here with procedures. So D is a choice, procedures for students to have immediate access to medications in accordance with policy 5330, administration of medication emergency care, and administrative guidelines. See, we don't have that. We create that administration of medications to allow students to self-care and self-administer medications, inhalers. And do we allow, I don't think we
We do.
for inhalers?
Mhm. There's some kids that have self-carry,
Okay.
as well as self-carry,
Is it limited to inhalers or is it
insulin,
medications?
Yep.
Okay.
Laura hasn't signed off on it.
Got it?
So we don't have a written guideline, but we do have forms that parents fill out. So in their file.
Awesome.
That was what I was wondering about. So on the top, so you're wanting guidance if those boxes need to be checked?
What Neola's gonna do is they'll put out the policy for consideration, and then anytime you see this parentheses, that is a choice. We can either check those, and we can even fill in our own, what we would consider to be chronic health, or we could not select any of those, and then we would just eliminate the chronic health conditions for the purpose of this policy shall include. We could say, we could change that and say, pursuant to section 504, chronic health conditions will be determined by the school nurse. Something like that.
That's what I would do.
I would do that too. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then what I will do with this policy, because it's new,
Then we can blame her.
I will bring, say again?
Then we can blame her.
I will come in next week, we're gonna exclude this policy from the approval. I will bring it in next month, marked up with suggestions, and what it should look like with the green ads and the red strikes.
Okay.
And then we can vote on what, as presented at that time. All right, 5340, student accidents, illness, and concussion. Recommended to be compliant with state law, and this is sudden cardiac arrest. So that's been an increasing issue in schools, that you have what appears to be a perfectly healthy young man out on the football field, and all of a sudden they go into cardiac arrest and die. And where'd that come from, right? It's kind of goofy, but that's been happening, kind of an alarming rate when you look around the nation. So they've added the sudden cardiac arrest to this policy to say that, this is a medical event, it's serious, and we should have it on policy as to how we're going to work through that. We have 2 AEDs, right? Two? I did receive, just FYI, I did receive from the state a list of things that we can ask for free, and I asked for 2 more. I don't know if we're gonna get them.
Just a thought.
I just don't know where they are.
What's that?
Where are they?
I said, do people know how to use them, and she
And
said,
One is in the commons and one is right outside by my office. And then we have a portable one as well.
I said, do people know how to use it, and she said there's instructions on how to use it, step by step. Okay.
And we just either replaced or just ordered the replacement pads. Did it connect? Okay, awesome.
Laura checks them every month because they close.
So we have 2, that's all we have is 2?
And
2 and a portable.
And a portable.
Portable.
3 total, 2 stationary in the school.
Okay.
Policy 55-1701 is the bullying policy. Policy has been revised to reflect Wisconsin statutory provisions. Further, the requirement for an annual bullying report has been made optional, as it is not required by state law, but was part of the Department of Public Instruction's model policy. If this report is not completed annually, the language should not be included in the board policy. But we do provide, and I'm gonna look to Mary and Aaron again, in the past, we have provided notification of schools restraint, bullying, we reported on all of that, so we do the reporting.
And we have to do it by October 31st or something, so we did it.
We did, it was in our administrative updates.
So you already reported the exclusion, physical restraint reports already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I was reading about it and it says it's due by December 1st, that's why, on my stuff.
That might be what
Maybe
you
prior-
to report, but we require
Oh,
the
maybe,
report by
yeah.
October.
Maybe it was priorly due before the end of October, so
Oh,
we
okay,
just,
yeah,
the year's over, so we can do it in August. if you want.
yeah, it was just, that came across yesterday. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, any questions on 55-1701? All right, 74-4001, video surveillance. We do have that here at our school. This just updates language. Been revised to add options regarding the storage of and the access to video footage. In addition, the note is added regarding the creation of an access log to all districts should review along with the revision. So you can see what's been stricken there. Whenever the video surveillance electronic system used, such notifications shall be identified that video and or electronic surveillance are possible, technologies being employed. And that's the signage on the door. They've taken out this big section here. Administrator, building principal is responsible for maintaining the proper audit trail. Take that out. The administrator, not building principal, but the administrator may authorize the viewing and record the images. And video footage should not be removed from the school official's custody except as required by law. So if it gets subpoenaed in a crime, then they can subpoena that footage and it can.
Do you know how many of our cameras have, audio on them, also audio recording?
I don't. I do know that we're,
Zero?
What was
None
the
of them?
question?
Audio recording, they don't.
Our
Buses
hall-
do.
Our hallway ones don't. The
No.
buses do.
like I said, 0.
I watch film all day.
Yeah, I mean, the rest was.
I do know we're potentially looking at adding another one to the stage area, and those types of things, but, that'll be a different conversation. All right, notification of educational options. This kind of correlates with the report cards. This is 8146. Possibly revised to include the new 2021 Act 83 requirements regarding a Class 1 notification of the educational options available to children residing in the district as well as the districts in each school's most recent report card performance category. So we have to make that known and post to our website and ensure that we are meeting the statutory requirements there. So this policy is updated on as necessary to meet those requirements. Lastly, this is bonding 8740. Previously bonding is now protection of district funds. Policy's been revised to reflect that while few school districts, if any, require security bonding, most have the same protections for the district through various standard insurance policies. You can see here that it says being bonded. Well, I don't know any district that's ever been bonded, or alternatively be covered by insurance policy. That everyone is. So they've updated this to be kind of and or instead of just specific to one. So again, it's let's see, is this Neil recommends review it to make sure that in fact that we have it the way we need it to say. Yeah. Questions about 8740? Right. So then that is the end of the policy review. Thank you very much for working through that. The one that was new, not active, the 5335.
Right.
So I would ask for approval of policies as presented, excluding 5335 at this time.
Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Second? Lee, James?
Wait,
How about Lee James? Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Those opposed? Okay, motion has been carried. Okay, considering now we're going into new business. Considering January board meeting date, there's a conflict with the January meeting date due to the fact that that's the state education conference. We consider moving it to Tuesday, January 17th, or does someone else have another day they would prefer?
So the 18th is our normal board meeting.
Yeah.
We do have the 17th that's available. We could do it the 16th if we wanted to, but the reality is that that's not gonna work for Carla on 17th, so I guess I'm curious, do we wanna move it a week earlier? That's gonna impact Rachel a little bit. Do we wanna move it earlier in the week, later in that week? Want to drop it back to the 4th Wednesday?
might be gone that fourth week. I'd be good with Tuesday or Monday, how about you guys?
Monday works better, Tuesday.
Next Monday?
So if we go, I'm gonna call back, the sports schedule. So on Monday, we would have home girls basketball for middle school and for varsity. And that would also be Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And that impacts our operation. Tuesday, we'd have basketball away. But again, I don't know if that means.
I'm good, I mean, I would prefer Monday, but I mean, if it has to be Tuesday, then I'd make it work.
Okay with Monday? I'm okay with Monday.
Monday it is, I'll make the motion.
Okay,
16th it is.
okay, and you second, and okay, Nance, seconded, James, did you say?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? No abstentions, okay, motion carried. Our January meeting will be on January 16th, Monday, January 16th. Okay. Consider 2023-24 school calendar options.
We have three options that are here. The first option, and basically just to run through real quick. The first option here does not follow the Stevens Point School District or UWSP, but what it does is it starts after Labor Day, moves our spring break a week later to incorporate Good Friday, and because it's leap year, by incorporating Good Friday, we are able to finish with students on May 30th. The teachers in services on the 31st of May, and then they wouldn't report in June. We'd have a week off, and then we'd start our summer school that second week of June. So that'd be option one. Option two is a slight variation. This considers merging and matching our spring break with UWSP and Stevens Point. We'd still start the Tuesday after Labor Day. We would then have our spring break the third week as normal with SP and Stevens Point. We'd come back, that would be the end of third quarter after that break, which may or may not make a difference, because we have grades, but we still have a semester grade, be the real grade. We'd have Good Friday off, and then this one, we'd still get done with students in May, but then teachers would have to come back on that Monday for their in-service. Option 3, again, slight variation, is that we would move that day of in-service at the end, and we have the end be in May, but here we'd start on that Friday, because frankly, the first day of school, it's a lot of, here's your book, here's your syllabus, here's your schedule, and we maneuver that. We have the opening in service, hey, here's your teachers, here's new teachers for the year, those types of things. So we'd start on that Friday, get through all that paperwork or organization, at Labor Day, and then come back with our second day of school on that Tuesday. Again, the spring break matches up with UWSP and Stevens Point. We would have the end of third quarter on Thursday, and then we'd have Good Friday. We'd move on to the end of the year. We'd have students finish again on Thursday with the teacher in service on the 31st, again finishing in May, rather than coming back that following Monday. When I did a survey of the staff, 39 total responses. Option 1, which doesn't match up with Stevens Point, but has a start after Labor Day and finishes before June. That was 21 responses, or a 53%, 53.8% response rate. Option 2, where we start September 5th after Labor Day and have the teachers come back on that Monday. That was 8 people preferred that versus 20%. And then option 3, there was 10 people. This is where we start September 1st and have everybody done in the month of May. So even if those two were put together, I did get the response from one of our staff members that says, hey, option 2 and 3 are so similar. If that's, would you have a runoff if you needed to? And I said, well, the data comes out where all of a sudden, the blue part was like 40%, and then there was, 30 and 30. Okay, let's combine the two and see if there's, one that's better than the others. But as the data came out, option 1 is third by a simple majority, so I'd recommend option 1 to the board for your consideration.
So option 1, was that with Good Friday off?
I think,
Like, as a parent that has kids in school here and college kids, not having that match up infuriates me. Like, it really does, because most families have plans at that time. I like the starting after of Labor Day because I have so many parent complaints about like the
Kids
FFA, the kids at the fair. So I like the whole starting after so that doesn't interfere with any of the FFA and the fairs.
To match your question, option 1 is where we would finish third quarter before spring break in that third week, which would normally be spring break. Good Friday would be incorporated into our spring break week, so that way we finish on time, quote unquote. Because at the end of the school year, that's when kids would get done and then teachers would have their in-service day, and we still start after, because I agree that's a major consideration. This year with the 2 days, I heard it too.
What makes it appealing to the teachers? Is it being off in May, like being all done, having it done in May? I'm not sure.
The number 1 is not what I chose personally, but what they said was they liked the spring break. Option 1 was the start the 5th, and Good Friday was incorporated so that they didn't have to come back in June. The argument about the original one was that the question was, did it match? And he went back and did this, Dennis did, and then I discovered as well, that UWSP is that third week. So that was kind of the.
They don't have a full week to go somewhere and get back if they want to be back for that again. That was something I noticed. I didn't know.
Yeah, because it is going to be
You know what I
Easter
mean?
weekend,
So
and
then
people are
I
going to
thought,
be getting
well,
together as families.
Right, because maybe they want to go somewhere and be back. Okay, do your 4 days, but then it's expensive. That was my might not be everybody.
Flip a coin.
So Renee, you're
I
talking
mean, you
about
gotta
this
make
one.
everybody happy, so.
Yeah.
So basically, you're talking this one, that if people wanted to leave this week, they're gonna, most families that do a traditional Good Friday, Easter weekend with large gatherings would wanna be back home by this, so you're cutting that vacation week per se.
That's
short.
what I was thinking, right, because some people might wanna be home.
And this one also does not match up with Stevens Point.
That's option one, is that option one?
That's option 3.
That's one.
They're looking at one.
That would be option one, yeah.
That's the option one.
So we're looking at, okay.
So then option two,
Good Friday.
the only question is, you have the week off and then come back for a short week and then you lead right into Easter, so you kinda have a little start, stop type of approach, but.
Well, it'll take them a while to get adjusted after spring break anyway. I know, I mean, seriously, kids when they come back for spring break, a lot of them have just, they've cashed it in already.
Well, but if they're coming back from spring break, they have 4 days, and, I mean, typically you're gonna have some kind of a test for the end of the quarter.
Yeah,
That, you know, in those days, so that's,
From a staff standpoint, option two is the lowest vote getter,
that's,
at 8 out of 39. I don't know why, I don't have any other comments or anything, just.
I
the
do
data.
know why, it was because we don't have any staff that has any ties to UWSP
Yeah,
at
that's-
this point, is why.
yeah.
But we do with parents,
Yeah,
but you didn't ask parents, you asked the staff.
correct.
Because some years that would make a big difference if we had a lot of staff whose kids went to Stevens Point, it would make a big, big difference.
However, you've got board members who.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions?
We gotta choose, right?
Yeah, we.
Eventually, there has to be a motion and.
Everybody wants to know.
I make a motion for option number 2.
Inquiring minds want to.
I would choose 2.
I might have the dog sit that week, so I'd have to go with. But to me, what,
Okay.
so they all went for one, right?
So the majority was 53% for one, right?
Actually, hold on, did I just mess something up there? Oh, no, never mind, I'm looking at winter break, sorry, never mind. I was looking at that thinking, oh my goodness, I incorporated Good Friday on that one, no, that's false, because I wasn't scrolled down far
You
enough.
did it, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Mary, Aaron, any thoughts on it?
Option 1
I'm
starts
here.
before
It
Labor
doesn't
Day.
have-
no, it starts after.
That's Labor Day.
They both start
They
at.
both start after
The only thing that's different is the spring break.
the
Yeah,
spring break.
the spring
So,
break, it's whether it's.
here's basically the difference, option one, you start September 5th after Labor Day, spring break is with Good Friday Incorporated, there's equal balance in semesters, and everybody's done in May. Option two, you start September 5th again, spring break is with UWSP, there's equal semesters, but you're done in June, that's when the teachers have to come back. Option three, you start September 1st, spring break is matched up with UWSP, and there's unequal semesters. Not that it's a huge difference, but first semester is longer by 3 days. And so if you're teaching the same section of a class, like say intro to government and then intro to government, you have 3 less days to get through the same curriculum in the second semester. And then we're still done in May. So that's kind of just a brief synopsis of the difference between the major differences in the calendar. So we've identified that.
How about we go through the first week of June, everybody, and then we have both weeks off in March?
No,
I mean, I don't wanna hang you.
because then we'd be right back to where when I came here,
Just ask them.
when I got here,
People
where
probably want a longer
you would
Christmas
finish
than
with
spring
school and
break.
you go right into summer school the next week, and that was
Yeah,
not.
they were.
That was rough this year.
Right.
Because Christmas break in any of these calendars is 1 week.
Yeah,
Correct.
they would probably go 2 weeks, we could give them Christmas off 2 weeks.
We used to
Christmas
get a
is
couple
real short.
days off for Christmas, you don't,
We haven't
Christmas
got
is real
spring
short.
we
break,
never
so
got
we're
a
to
Christmas
school.
break.
Just
Oh, because of the holiday.
because of the way it
Yeah.
falls.
Yeah.
I mean, it is literally 1 week and a day.
Couple days.
Right,
So it is the shortest Christmas break you can possibly have.
correct.
I get 0 days off from work. We get no pay on it. Because it's on the weekend.
Well,
So they didn't recognize the federal holiday of
No.
The weekend or the Friday or the Monday?
Seriously?
Wow.
All about one.
So we have
We
to,
have to choose here.
we have to
I want
choose,
this
so,
one. So
do you want a motion?
There is a motion
Oh,
on
there
the
is a
floor.
motion on the table, I'm sorry.
There's a motion for option 2.
For option 2, I have a first, is there a second? Well, then that motion can't go anywhere. All right, then I need a new motion. Is there a motion up there? We won't tell anybody who made them.
Except for in the minutes.
Except for the minutes, that won't come out until next month though.
We can hold it off for a little while. I know it's gonna come out, but,
What if I forget to write it down?
this is a hard decision, because I don't think we're gonna please everybody.
You
No.
can't.
And,
But I would agree with you that I think option 3 is not the best option because it's unequal semesters. You start before Labor Day, that impacts the fair weekend. It was just playing with the days to figure out
Yeah.
what else could be done. So I personally, I don't like option 3. I'm fine with option 1 or 2.
I'm very surprised that they're, don't care if they come back today, for one day. Is that more of an elementary thing than a high school thing?
I would say the meeting was split pretty evenly.
Okay. Cause that to me, that was always
We've
a,
had to do that before, it's just
Yeah.
what it is.
I guess I've heard complaints when I taught that, oh, we gotta come back for one day. I mean, in your elementary, you have enough to do in your room, so it doesn't matter, but,
So I think we got this narrowed down.
Yeah,
Option
it's
1
ordered.
didn't, option 2 didn't carry, so I'm gonna make a motion for option 1 because that's what the majority wanted. So,
A majority of teachers.
majority of teachers who,
Wait till parents find us out.
yeah.
I'll make a motion for option 2, actually, the second motion.
Oh, you wanna make the second motion, okay. So now we're back to Alicia
Whoa.
for the first motion and Matt for the second motion. All right, to approve the calendar option of number 2. There's 5 of us present, okay.
Maybe we should do a roll call on this one.
Probably should.
Okay, we will do a roll call on this. And we'll start with Lee.
I'm still ready.
Alicia,
Aye.
James.
what is this?
For
This
option
motion 2.
Option 1.
Well, then you're saying
Then
nay.
you
You're
nay.
saying nay.
Okay, you're saying nay. Matt,
2. Yes.
okay. Lee, we're back to you again.
I'm still ready.
Oh, gosh.
We can't write all
Okay,
night.
Carla,
I like option 1 myself, but
so you're a nay.
You're the tiebreaker.
No, no.
You gotta vote.
Oh, no, I have to vote. And I don't really, to me, it makes no difference. That's my problem.
The other thing, and I mean, the other thing I can do is now that we've eliminated option 3, we could run another survey amongst the staff to say, okay, we have option 1, option 2, the board didn't like 3, but it was non-consensus, and we can get more staff input on option 1 and option 2, and see if there's any difference, or if it's a landslide.
Well, no,
I don't
I'm gonna
necessarily
do-
know that I'd like to open it up to
I'm gonna do option 2.
parents, because
I'll
Yeah,
say
no.
option 2. And the reason, because I might have to do dog sitting. No, because my friends go on vacation that week and I go to the house and dog sit for the week. Sorry.
There it is.
I
Okay.
don't, whatever.
that's it then.
I know.
Okay,
That's it.
I'm happy that parents will be happy, so,
okay. Lee, what, you were a nay, right?
not that I don't think that.
Yeah.
Well, I think some will be happy, but I think some will not, because I'm.
no, yes, yes, no, yes.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, so
got a
now,
calendar.
option 2. Well, I think it's a hard decision. I think we're not,
Yes.
I think it's funny that this was probably one of the biggest, like the.
first time we've ever just
Right,
not
yeah.
kind of
All agree.
together, yeah. Okay, well,
With
you
the
know,
school.
Talk about it later.
We agree to disagree, Counselor.
Marky, I'll see you. No, okay.
So we have option, which one did we say?
Option
two.
I wanna make sure I got it here.
It's option 2.
Okay.
It was 3-2. I feel like Glenn Goodman on Dancing with the Stars. because he makes the deciding vote. Okay, consider, I'm sorry, people that are watching, just, sorry about that. Okay, consider 2023 strategic planning dates.
So when I proposed this last month, we kind of decided that timeframe in March, right before spring break, would probably be the best, because it's in between sports seasons and people have a bit more time. When we really sat down, we sat down with the administrative team and kind of crunched the dates, and we had kind of a blended approach where we took like a Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday type of thing. That wasn't gonna work. So really, we boiled down to just basically two options. Either we do, and according to the board last month too, it wasn't like we wanted to do 3 days in a row. We thought that would be overtaxing for everybody. So we said, let's do a week at a time. So we really boiled down to Thursdays, March 2nd, 9th, and 16th. And option 2 would be Tuesdays, February 28th, March 7th, and March 14th. So I guess I can call up the calendar and we can look at those dates if you'd like. But really, do Tuesdays or Thursdays work better? And that's really kind of where we're at for that March timeframe. And again, our board meeting will be on the 15th. So either we want to go the night before that or the night after that. And that would be the third and final culminating meeting of that same strategic planning group.
I do have a question for you. With strategic planning dates, is there enough time between each session to do what we need to do from when we meet to the next meeting to the next meeting? And who is going to be the overseer of it all?
If you're okay with it, I was going to facilitate the discussion.
Okay,
And I won't partake in the conversations because it's really a lot of small group work to work through that process. I've done that twice before. And being new to the district, I can have an impartial view and say, this is what we're looking for. So again, this is normally, if you've ever heard of a community conversation, we really take a look at past, present, future, take a look then at that final meeting to develop themes. It's really not the strategic plan like, oh, our goal number 714 is gonna be to do whatever.
okay.
That's not the process
That's
we're
the
going to go
process.
through.
Okay, that's what I
What we're
want.
looking for is community input to develop what is important to our community. And it usually pairs out to 3 to 7 different themes, if you will. And what I like to call them pillars, because when we see the front porch, we have the big white columns up there. Those are the pillars that we're gonna build our school district on, looking forward to 2035. So we take a look at 2035 as a district. These are the 3 to 7 major pillars that we wanna stand on as a district. Okay, now we take each one of those pillars and we devise a plan to get us there by, the next
So if I
decade.
understand this correctly, this is just the starting part of it? I mean, we're just building those things and then there'll be
Correct.
more meetings later on to develop those more.
To develop the plan of action or
Okay.
course of action
So we're just
underneath each
developing
one of
that
those pillars.
plan and then we'll go later to the action.
Correct.
Okay, I was just concerned that I had talked to other people and they were just like, you have to have more time. I mean, if you're gonna really develop it, you need time in between.
This is not
It's not the,
this is not the action plan
okay.
portion of it.
it's
This
just
is the community involvement to identify what's important to our community.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, does anybody else have any questions about it, or? No, okay. And I would assume we're having staff members, community members, retired people, I mean,
Whoever wants to come, except I would limit it to not include middle school or below students. High school students for sure. A lot of times middle school students and elementary students wouldn't necessarily be able to operate and converse in that type of forum. But high school students, by all means, absolutely. So anybody who would like to come that's in part of our community.
okay.
Business people, parents, board members, administrators, teachers.
So are we putting out invitations to everyone? Or there's certain people that we would really like involved because they're community members or?
Yes and yes.
Okay,
So I would say, what I've done in the past, we've done a blanket invitation to anybody that comes, but we would ask them to commit to attending all 3 nights, because it's not very practical to come in on the evening number 3, haven't done the work in the first 2, and then try to take over the meeting per se. No, get out of here, you don't even know what we've been through yet, and it is kind of, if you think of a school staff, it's almost like a little bit of team teamwork and team bonding. So we would ask people to commit to all three of those
So
evenings.
would
And then
they
we'd
register?
provide food, we'd have them register, we'd have them,
Okay.
call back to the district office, take down their name, their address, phone number, send out reminder cards, that type of thing.
I'm just clarifying with that. Okay, does anybody have an idea of whether option 1 or option 2 would work better for them?
Tuesdays or Thursdays, and
No.
James, does it interfere with?
Nope,
your
doesn't
work?
matter.
Doesn't
No.
matter?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Tuesdays, Thursdays.
I think Thursday.
You think Thursdays?
That's fine.
I have Thursdays are Xed out on my phone, yeah. What about you, Matt? Alicia, how's that work?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Tuesday, Wednesday,
I prefer Tuesdays, but we want Thursdays.
Let's go with Tuesday.
We'll make it work.
Lee, does Tuesday work for you, or is it harder for you on Thursday?
I guess I'm flexible, whatever. I don't,
Whatever the majority are, that's fine.
I can do either, so I'm fine either way. What about you administrative people over there?
How long do you think we're gonna be here those nights?
what I've seen in the past, we would normally, have the meal available from like 5:30 to 6, and have people come in and just talk, and we would start at about 6 with the procedure, and usually, the process would take anywhere from 6 to 8:30, 6 to 9, 6 to 9:30, depending on discussion and how long it goes, so it can be kind of late night, that's why sometimes when it's been done 3 nights in a row, by then if there's night, people are exhausted, yeah, because you're committing 4 hours. It doesn't necessarily have to be that long, it just depends on the conversation and how it goes. I would say on average, what I've seen is probably about, you know, 2.5, 3 hours a night.
Tuesday, and then, the following week of Thursday. Can we do that?
What's
That's
that?
really, can we, because we got Tuesdays and Thursdays, can we go like a Tuesday one week and a Thursday the next week and a Tuesday, you know?
We could, we looked at that, I don't know
Well,
why we said that, that didn't really
You just,
look at it.
we looked at the sports calendars, that's
oh,
part of the reason.
okay.
Let's just go with Tuesdays and get it over with.
Good,
Is there a motion? What's that? Yeah, I make a motion for Tuesdays.
okay. So that would be option 2,
Correct.
okay? Is there a second?
I'm second.
Okay. All right, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion was carried. Okay. All right, consider official Hornet mascot.
All right, I'm glad you asked.
Do you know what my personal opinion is? Neither, but that's my personal.
What, this is what we're down to? There was a couple more.
Oh, no, there's,
Yeah.
there's
right
4
there.
total. That, and so,
They've upgraded throughout the years, that's why there's more.
the reason I'm bringing this to the board is because I've been at Booster Club meetings, and, I made it known to others that if we are branding the district, and I'm seriously considering like employing our art department and our tech edit department and getting, basically a barn quilt on the corner, and posting that up there with some design and having a barn quilt, because it looks so institutional with that kind of
Mhm.
stop sign corner there. I think having some, yellow, black, white Hornet crest barn quilt would add a little bit of, interest there. But again, if we're branding our school, we should have a singular mascot that's being used for anything that's done with the school. If you look around our school, we have these 4 plus about 3 or 4 others, that are presently being used. Stingers, youth sports, use whatever you want, who cares? If you wanna be a Hornet, great, you wanna be an elephant, whatever. You're not technically affiliated with the school district, but if it's a school-sponsored activity, then we should be branding with the same mascot. These are the 4 that, when I went to Maida, these are the 4 that they have on file that they've reworked. Now evidently, logo B was Maida's rendition of logo A, because logo A, to my understanding, is our official logo that we use at this time, and was created by a former student. So that's, I think, why it
I didn't know that.
has elevated into our official logo. Maida tried to clean it up and kind of bring it in to current times a little bit more gold instead of yellow, okay, fine. Logo D might be an infringement on the Charlotte Hornets, and I had the conversation today, why we give Fremont, change to the Warhawks, and their W is so much like Wisconsin, that they're not able to use it, so they're working through changing
Geez,
that.
again? No, they can't win
Still,
over there.
I
They
think.
can't win.
But more and more schools are doing that. Evidently, I had a conversation today, there was a school that is a name, but it's like the Bucks, and so they put the Milwaukee Buck-looking buck on their gym floor. Milwaukee Bucks found out about it, said take it out of there now. So they had to redo their gym floor. And so there's more and more of these name rights, so logo D is a nice logo for a Hornet, but we might have to clear it with the Charlotte Hornets, if we wanted to use that. Otherwise, we run the risk of somebody coming, at us and say, hey, that's our logo, that's trademarked, we can't do that. Logo C is something that's been used, I don't know what it was used for, to me that it looks kinda like the Transformer logo, the Transformer horn logo.
To me, it looks like the toughest one, like the meanest.
Like
like
metallic.
I mean, has this been thrown out there to the staff, students at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to bring it to the board first, and I don't necessarily, I'm not looking for a decision, but I'm looking for guidance. I mean, because I understand right now that logo A is our official logo. I'm not asking for guidance to say, we don't wanna be the Hornets anymore, we wanna go to be the Evergreens or the Thundercats or whatever. I'm not asking that, but what I am asking for, from a marketing standpoint, as we move forward and as we take a look at branding and as we consider things like putting a barn quilt up with a hornet there, if we consider things like doing some window film that would, be more decorative and show the hornet, we would want to use our official logo.
Sure.
When we do those things. And same thing with our staff shirts and things that we're producing. So this is nothing that I really want a decision on tonight, but this year, leading into next year, when we start to do uniform renewal, when we start to do staff apparel, when we start to do maybe some window art, when we do barn quilt, when we do some of those types of things to brand our school, we want to use an official logo. So by then, if we're not satisfied with logo A, then I think we need to have a decision by, end of the school year, if we want to adjust it. So it's nothing that we have to decide tonight. I guess I'm looking for feedback.
You said made it gold?
Yeah.
These are the 4 logos that Meta has, and Meta explained to me that logo B was their updated rendition of logo A. Although I will tell you that I saw it screen printed, the antennas look like horns,
Yes.
because when I was in Adams Friendship,
On
they're the
B?
green devils, so on
Yeah.
B, when I saw it printed on a shirt, it looked like a devil horn. I'm like,
And it looks more like a duck bill.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Would it be wrong to have a contest?
That's what I
That's
said.
what I was thinking
Let's
too.
put this
For
to a
students?
vote, because it's up to the students. I mean, I personally love C, but my daughter really didn't like C, so, I mean, I don't know.
Mary,
What does the admin think?
Yeah, Mary's over here just biting her head.
I'm afraid.
Well, I've been
Can you take the
through
legs off one and?
the change of a logo in a school,
sure Meta.
Uh-huh.
and it is a horrific experience.
Horrific?
Horrific. Because,
But we're not gonna change our logo, I mean,
no,
because
but,
we don't have officially, we have,
well, we officially have A.
Yeah.
but we
But-
use all the other ones too, so.
But so what we hired a graphic designer to take the official logo of one of my schools and make a digital copy of it, because, for example, A was a hand drawing
From a student,
from 50 years ago.
Is that how long we've had that?
No.
no.
Some,
But if you do look in the middle gym, no,
the middle gym, yeah.
yeah, little, big.
Yep,
East Gym.
middle gym. You got it right.
Old,
The old gym.
old gym.
That's
The old gym, you look at the horn in there, that does look like it's from the 50s. Because that horn in there is nothing that even close resembling.
But
any of
it was, we hired a graphic designer to take the logo and basically change it so that it was a digital copy. He picked certain colors and did colors, and we had community meetings, and we had votes, and we had a write-up in the in the Racine Journal Times because we're changing the logo, and it was a horrific process.
It would
Now,
seem-
eventually we got there, and like now there's an RGB number for the green and an RGB number for the blue of the logo of the school. But I mean, it was things like, this one looks a little too scary for a gator, and there are children who would be scared by this gator, so we had to round the teeth. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Wow.
was a process.
And even worse than that,
Because as soon as you involve the community
Yeah.
who feel strongly one way or the other, I mean, think about the two choices of calendar
Yeah.
that y'all just went through. You will end up involving the community in this, and it will be a hot topic for some
We
people.
don't have to involve the community, it's our choice.
Uh-huh.
It seems
You
to
said that,
me,
don't we?
I'm just saying, I've done it once,
Yeah.
it was hard.
it seems to me that since I've been here, this has been a discussion before about what to do, because everybody was making their own hornets.
Right.
That's how we ended up.
Honestly, I did it as a coach, because I didn't like that hornet, I'm like, I wanna look better.
That hornet to me is so mean looking. I don't know
Well,
what,
Which one are you talking about?
hey, I don't like it, I don't like.
I agree with James, he looks like a duck-billed
Well,
platypus.
That's Donald Duck's.
Yeah, he is definitely out. He's gone, pick it up.
So, and this is the reason I bring this up, because when I came in, and not that I'm a great marketer, but that's what I used to teach, and so we should have a logo. We should have a specific district-wide logo, because when I came in, I saw the Charlotte Hornet in the break room. I look at the soap dispenser, and I see the grumpy devil-looking one, and then I see, our letterhead, and it's number 8, and then I go and I see the stingers, and they have one that's kind of like a butterfly, it's got the wings out to both sides, and I'm like, oh, those are all options, but what is the one that we use? And that's why I asked early on and said, oh, A is our official logo, that's what's on our letterhead. Okay, we're gonna use A, but then coaches don't like it. Like, we don't like that logo. It's not what we like. So that's why I would like to clarify this year, so that way, starting next year, go through the process as we need to, but then next year we have a bona fide official Rosholt Hornet with the color, with the design, and now we can use that as a brand.
Why
And if
can't
I
we use that
remember-
one?
Is that a rendition of D?
Whatever gets decided, it needs to be
Pointing
done by a
notes.
graphic designer so that it is a digital copy. It's
Right.
not a hand drawing. So you might have a student, you might have a contest to have a student draw the concept that then gets digitized. But
Correct.
But I also think
you're
we
gonna
need,
end up spending that money on the graphic designer
we
too.
need to make a decision, because I know that the Booster Club has asked Steve to look for a new mascot costume. Because the one that we have is, well, the ears are,
Yeah, I was
It's-
watching it like at all the volleyball
sad.
games, and I'm
He-
looking at it
he's
going,
very
that is
sad.
the one that we bought when I was
Uh-huh.
like the head of the PTO,
Yeah.
which was
Not
12,
recent.
13 years
It's been
ago.
a long time.
It just, it was the blackbird that was at the school
That was my
night.
second choice.
Oh, well, when we went and played Athens,
I
and
like
their
Caesar's
Blue Jay
tough.
and our Hornet, it was sad.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
Was
Sorry,
that
I think
for
it was more yellow.
Yes, and I'm like,
That's
their
because of the
costumes
lighting.
looked, yes, that looked
Okay,
great,
sure.
and then
You
you've got
can
our
use it like
Hornet
this
that's all
because that's more
falling
pointy
apart,
nose.
so.
You know, if that was more
And-
pointy nose,
And I'm open to do the process,
this looks tough.
because I would like to get something that we can say, as a district, this is our logo, and anything that comes out as part of the school district. And I'm not opposed to having an elementary, warm and fuzzy type of logo as a rendition, and then an official, high school logo. When I was down south, we were the Phoenix, and so the middle school had the full-blown Phoenix with the flame down below, and then for our elementary, we had like a little baby Phoenix. It was just born out of the egg, it was just a little baby bird, because it was the littles. But we only went up to 4th grade, so it wasn't that bad. But moving forward, leading into summer, when we start to look at rebranding and taking a look at, like I said, uniform purchase, the poster development, to me, it would make sense that anything that's published from this school on behalf of this school should have the same logo. Because then people recognize, ooh, Rosholt. Right now, they look, oh, it's a freaking hornet. What, is that Waton? Is that Rosholt? We don't know. What's the logo?
We wouldn't wanna be the baby, cause then we'd be a larva.
The science
We should
teacher.
change it, we should change it to the bumblebees or something.
Making it a little bit softer for the short hair, so that it's not like I'm gonna kill you because you're gonna swell up and die, you know?
I'm just kidding.
Stuck in there.
Okay, so we just, right now, you have it to consider, do we wanna just table this, or, I mean, what, you guys tell me what we wanna do.
I make a motion for C.
Does that motion have a second?
Yes.
And again, I'm not asking for a decision,
Okay.
I guess I've heard, let's have a student contest, let's have, options and then vote on it. I've heard, let's get an official graphic designer on board that could potentially generate different renditions. Do we wanna go to some sort of marketing firm that specializes in logos and have them produce multiple logos that we decide from? Do we want our kids to do the concept of it? I guess I'm coming to the board, what would you like to see from us as administrators and us as a school to bring back to you so you could have a decision to look at?
I like the idea of a contest. I look at that way, they, you know.
And I don't care if a kid or a staff member, someone here in the building. I think that would be,
Maybe there's a community member that is too.
they're not in the building, they can't.
We would announce that and say, hey, we're looking at updating our logo. If there's a student or staff member or anyone that's associated with the school that has, like to create and submit a new horn logo, please do so. What if we have 0?
Then we adjourn.
Then we go to some,
Then we adjourn.
I think.
Can we get C?
And we can do that, and I don't disagree with that, the board, I'm looking around the school, looking at what has been done, and it seems like everybody has done their thing, and I will be that person to know, we now have an official logo that's up to date, digitized, and we're moving forward as branding this logo.
Aaron, what did you have in your uniform?
It was similar to when we C and D. It was more or less streamlined. It wasn't quite as evil as C, but.
Right, you're right about that, Aaron. It needs to be a mix, you know, not quite as fierce, but yet
It sounds like you should submit one.
mean enough.
Oh, it'll be a stick beat.
Oh, I can't. Do you have, well, do you have a copy of your old one?
Somewhere. I'm
What
sure I
was
said
nice
Should be a
about
picture
Aaron's
of
honor
somebody.
is he did, when we finally settled on one, he did view from the side, a view from the front, a full body, a half, just, so like, we had, I think, 10 different imitations of the same thing to be able to put on, because sometimes you want it to look more fierce, or, and be, like muscular, as opposed to a side view.
Yeah.
So that was one of the good things about graphic designer, is when we finally settled, he took that one and did a multi-view approach.
360.
Yeah, so that
And different things, you
you could change things
like a
up.
polo shirt, you might just want like a chest up for it.
Correct.
If it's on a wall cap, maybe you want the
There you
whole
go.
thing.
I think you.
Yeah.
Right, I'm glad I didn't get one already since we're paying.
I know, yeah, I can't give a man's hat, figure out a.
Well, it's the boost of the order, I mean, they're using logo, and you can either get it that says Rosholt Hornets, or you can get it that says Rosholt Booster Club.
Yeah.
And if the Booster Club is their own thing, technically part of us, so if they wanted to use C, they can put C on their club stuff, but if it's Rosholt Hornets, then I would argue you'd have to be A right now, or
Right.
whatever the logo is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So then they would, if they want wanted to run that same fundraiser they're doing now, and they wanted to say, oh, you just have generic Rosholt Hornets with the official logo, the Booster Club with the Booster Club logo,
Yeah.
that's fine, I don't care.
Okay, so what we'd like you to do, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'd like you to set up a contest and then we'll see what we come from there. And do we want, if no one goes, do we want him to give him permission or the administration permission to, look at a designer?
You need one no matter what.
Yeah.
Either way, the end is what they're going to be done.
Right.
Once we get outstanding.
Okay. So that's what we instruct you to do.
And I can research those two and get different options and potentially pull together some plans as we move.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
for supper yesterday as well.
You're welcome. Go home and practice drawing at home. Okay. Let's consider adjourning in the session according to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.8. Consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. And financial, medical, social, and personal histories, disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personal problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except for where the applies, which, if discussed in public, would likely be likely to have substantial adverse effect on the reputation of any person referring